Hi Vidushpat.
Hi Ramanuj, how are you doing?
Welcome to LawSikho. So, if you can tell us a bit about yourself first, introduce yourself, like talk about your college and then professional life and how you got involved in sports law.
Sports law, I think when you talk about sports law, I think the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is sports. Right. So I've been a sports person, an amateur sports person. I will not be a professional sports person all my life. I played East India golf. I sailed nationally. I played table tennis state. I played All India cricket. So basically, I always had an interest in sports right from school. And probably when I was in second or third year in college, I decided that I was just looking and doing some research for my mother because she wanted some inputs on art law. And at that point, I came across something in sports law. And I'm talking about way back. Now people know about sports law. I'm talking
How
about
long back?
2004.
Okay.
3 or 4. IPL was not in existence. People did not know about sports law in India. And that's the time I looked up and I said, okay, this sounds interesting. This is something that I would want to do. So I looked around, did a bit research, could not find anybody in India who does sports law. In fact, I didn't find anything in India on sports law.
Nandan Kamat started around 2006, I think.
Correct, yes. So this is before he even started.
Right.
And I said, let me first understand. So I went ahead and did a certificate course in sports law from University of Pretoria, South Africa.
Which year was that?
It's 2004.
2004.
or 5. I applied, did a certificate course. Then the next year I went and did a internship at The Hague, at the International Sports Law Center at The Hague. So I knew after that this is what I want to do. Continued doing that, passed out of law college. As I said, you look around, you don't get opportunities in sports law. This is again talking 2008. IPL was just about to come into existence at that point of time. And I decided, fair enough, and I was very clear that I wanted to do sports law. I applied, I told all the law firms, even through the interviews in college, that I wanted to do sports law. Nothing was coming about. I said, let me just bounce into litigation. So I worked with the senior counsel, Mr. Dushyant Dave, and excellent experience. A taskmaster, yes, but the experience and the values that you learn of litigation, it was phenomenal working with him in the Supreme Court. Then I got an opportunity to work with Justice Budgal. At that point of time, he decided to write a book on law and sports in India. This is talking about 2000.
Yes, you attain more something.
2009 we started writing. 2008 and 9 we started writing the book, the first edition, which got launched in 2010. So that's the time we started working on the book together. I also got an opportunity in the meantime to work at the Commonwealth Games. So I was a law officer at the Commonwealth Games. So I had a 1.5 year, 2 year stint there. So again, a major event taking place in India. You learn so much about sports and sports law because I was fortunate to have a very good English qualified lawyer, Mr. Stuart Cobbishley, as my mentor there. And he really taught me a lot. I owe a lot to him, especially teaching me sports law specifics. So learned with him. 2010, the Commonwealth Games finished. By the time Justice Budgal was retired, again started working back with him on his retirement. We started doing a lot of work for the government of India at that point of time. So we consulted on drafting the National Sports Development Code of 2011. Then we drafted the National Sports Bill 2011. We drafted the National Sports Fraud Bill in 2013. By that time, I had branched out independent. We drafted, I don't know how many legislations I've done. I was a part of the sports in higher education by the Ministry of Youth of Human Resources. They appointed a committee, so that was about 2014-15. So did a lot of work on anti-doping, appeared in the Court of Arbitration for Sports. Lausanne. Ended up doing the second book in 2016. Set up my own law, worked with Mr. Lakshmi Kumaran. And Mr. Lakshmi Kumaran, a visionary, I would say. He realized that this is an area or a sector which will grow, and he actually gave me my own department within the corporate department. But he gave me my own department that, you run this and We got a lot of success. We got recognized. Mr. Lakshmi Kumar and Lakshmi Kumar and Shriran got recognized as the best professional service sports firm by FICCI. So again, it's been a long journey, and it culminated into me setting up my own firm in 2014. Initially, we titled it Ludus Legal, changed the name in 2015, and made it Krida Legal. The journey continued. Again, wrote a book which I co-authored with Justice Mutkal. There were some assisting people who assisted us, and a lot of interns who assisted us also in the research purposes. So we did the second book. The law firm started as a firm specializing in sports and gaming. Now it has grown beyond me. There are two other partners, one specializing in IP, one specializing in litigation, dispute resolution. And we have a fairly larger team now.
Yes. How large is the team?
About 13 lawyers, 14 lawyers. And
when you started Ludus, so how old were you?
How old was I? I was 30, 31.
30. Okay.
So that's been my journey in sports law, and it continues. And if we talk about the work we do now, so we are a lawyer to most of the leagues in India.
Right.
So we have been a lawyer for an IPL team. We helped in setting up the Indian Super League, and I sit on the regulatory commission, and I do all their rules and regulation. We advise for the Polo Association, for the Polo League. We advise Badminton League. We advise, how many leagues do we advise? We advise the Table Tennis League. We advise the Boxing League. We advise, so as I said, Premier Futsal we've advised earlier at some point of time. At this point, I also sit on the governance of the World Athletics. So I'm the only Asian on the World Athletics governance. As a lawyer, so we sit there. So it's the wide variety of work on the sports side. I'm guessing you're not interested in the gaming side of the thing that I do.
Yeah, about the gambling part of it, right?
Gaming and gambling are two separate gambits.
Separate things, sure. But pretty much in the similar domain, I can say at least. Even I would put fantasy sports in that domain.
Yeah, that's gaming. Not gambling.
Okay, sure. So what we see is that there is a lot of young lawyers who have this interest in sports law, but they find very little opportunity to pursue it. So I will get into like the market and all of that in a bit, but just wanted to know, because I know many people who will watch it, they'll be like, how can we get into sports law? So if somebody today wants to get into sports law, what's your top 3 advice to them?
So it depends on whether you're talking about law students or people who passed out. I think that's the first question that comes to my mind, but I will just talk on a general, larger scale. So a lot of people want to get into sports law, but they don't know what is sports law.
Sure.
So my first advice to them is read, right? Even if you apply to us, you can't just come and say, I'm interested in sports and I'm a lawyer or a law student, and therefore I want sports law. That does not fly. Maybe it was an acceptable explanation when I was doing sports law, which is 2008, 9 or 7, 8. At that point of time, there was no development. But now we have niche law firm. Nandan is one that you've talked about. That is one is us. So I think we have a few law firms which specialize in sports law. So you should read. I think there's enough literature available online, as well as there is books. Again, we've written 2 editions of books as well. There is the World Sports Law Journal. There is Law in Sports. There's again a lot of information available. So first thing is we advise is read and understand what sports law is. Second,
so if I can quickly ask, what I understand is sports law. One is that sports is an industry. So in any industry, there are every kind of law applies. So for example, in the healthcare industry, there will be employment law and everything else.
Excellent question.
So in a way, we have a sports industry which is huge, right? There's billions of dollars invested in it. So there will be every kind of law, starting from contracts to, I guess, even competition law or whatever, everything applies, IP.
Yes, so I get the point that you're asking. So basically, there are 2 facets of sports law, I would say. Right. So sports law is too big, I would say. Earlier, I thought it was one of the field, but now it's become too big because there's so many facets in it. So first is a facet what you're talking about, which is the application of general law to the field of sports or the sports industry.
Right.
Now that could be contract law, which remains the primary. It includes broadcasting and rights
IPR.
distribution. It includes IP. It includes employment laws. It includes the public procurement laws. And why I say public procurement?
Projects,
Because
infrastructure.
because the national sport federations in India are considered to be performing public functions, right? And in the end, when they are giving out contracts, they are actually giving out aspects or things pertaining to public resources. So mostly it is advised that everybody tenders. And if you see all federations tender, even if they are giving out the right to conduct a league, they generally issue a tender.
Right.
So even public procurement laws are very important on that line. And then most sport disputes are resolved through arbitration and conciliation. So good knowledge about arbitration and conciliation is good. Even competition law is also very important because of a lot of applicability of sports, of competition law into sports. But that is something that you are taught in law schools, and you can harness and even develop that further by attending few conferences and sports specific industry meetings. The second is an aspect which is not taught in law schools.
Right.
And that is very, very sports
The
specific.
rules of sports.
Correct. Now those are rules and regulation, and they are not like the general rules and regulation. They are very specific rules and regulations. They could be anti-doping, they could be issues pertaining to sports manipulation, which is match fixing, spot fixing, insider information. They're talking about club licensing.
Disciplinary issues.
Club licensing, there are disciplinary issues, whether you've been obeyed the rules and regulation or not, how you violated it.
Amateur or professional.
Correct. Then there is issues pertaining to player registrations and player transfers. So
There are even disputes between different agencies, different sports agencies and
Correct.
federations. And
Correct.
all that.
So those are the various aspects which are basically governed by the rules and regulations. So like a number of them end up going to the
Yes.
courts as well. So even some basic disputes pertaining to elections, selections, and where arbitrary decisions have been taken, they ended up getting challenged in the writ petitions in the high courts as well. But there are separate dispute resolution bodies within the national federation as well as the international federation which take care of this. So that is also an opportunity available for law students. So my advice to law students would generally be that, listen, if you want to do sports law, yes, there are certain sports law firms, so you can apply to them. But also a soft entry into sports sector is through NGOs. So there are a number of NGOs which are engaged in sports like OGQ, like Go Sports, like Stairs, like Mittal Champion Trust, like JSW. So these are the things that come to top of my mind. But there are many more. Red Bus is there. So if you work in the sports sector, be it at the top level or at the grassroots level, you will pick up a lot of experience and information which will always benefit you even if you want to do a sports law career. The second is, even if you don't, and as I say, even though if you don't get a job straight into sports law, at least pick up industry knowledge through these NGOs. Even government hires a lot of people as interns. The National Anti-Doping Agency takes interns. The Niti Aayog takes interns, and they all have a sports department within it. So that is also a possibility. Sports Authority of India takes interns. So those are opportunities, also soft opportunities available. And then there is national sport federations, state federations, which all take interns.
Right. What I suggest to some of the students we know, and our students at least, that you go and volunteer for sporting events. So there's always some sporting event or the other happening.
Absolutely.
And a great idea to start is to get to know the people who are the managers of the sports. Like once you know the fraternity of people who are involved in the sports, you would get opportunities as a lawyer as well eventually.
Yes. So the sports sector is a sector which is very closed in the sense that everybody knows everybody, and it's very difficult to break that glass ceiling. And that is something that we also faced when I started my career. And once you break it and when you start getting to know people, then they automatically the word spreads that this is somebody who does sports law, is interested, and there are opportunities then automatically become available. And that is even in the international front. So a lot of these international federations which are also looking out for interns, and they keep advertising it. Even so that is also an opportunity that can be explored by law students and people even passing out. But again, breaking the glass ceiling is a very tough aspect. Yes.
Sure. So, if I can ask you a little about, you told us your journey from when you were a lawyer and you discovered sports law in 2004, and from there how you, by the time you were, I believe, 2014
19 now.
you started Ludus.
My own firm, yes.
Right, so 10 years. So, basically by the time you're 21, you discovered sports law, and by the time you're 30, you started
31, yeah.
31, you started your own law firm. Now, when you, what was this? I mean, is there a reason you waited for 10 years, or you felt the timing in the market wasn't right, or what was the reason that you took so long? But you were
I was always pursuing sports law, right?
You were
From
independently running a practice anyway.
No, so again, as I go back, in 21 I was still a law student, so I was trying to pick up knowledge.
Right.
So pick up knowledge is through programs at the South Africa, at the Hague. I even did a master's in sports law, which I did parallel with my work at the Commonwealth Games.
Right.
I was writing books, I was doing a lot of research and putting it down. So I was always involved in the sports law in that journey also. And then I joined Mr. Lakshmi Kumaran. He gave me a sports law department. So I was doing sports law even prior. And then in 31, I got an opportunity to branch out. I took that step to branch out. So it was not like I ever stopped. Right. And I would advise all the law students or even young lawyers who are wanting to pursue sports law. Perseverance is the key. Even if you don't get a direct opportunity, keep pursuing law, keep gathering experience, and keep reading about sports and try to see wherever there's opportunity.
So how did you decide at the time when you're starting a law firm that there's enough market opportunity or gap in the market for you to start a new sports law?
I did not know.
So
you have to take the plunge sometimes. And I said, this is a plunge that I will take. And I was always sure that I wanted to do sports law and gaming law. And so you take the plunge. Sometimes you have to take that plunge and then swim. So initial period, I think 1 year is always very difficult. You're trying to get clients. And I was very fortunate that certain clients of mine, as soon as I branched out, committed and said, let's sign a retainer. We want you to work with us. So
yeah. So how did that happen? Like, why do you think that happened? And when you started, I mean, I understand you had a history and background, you knew people, but if you can explain that, what would you credit this success to? Like, what made you get this, this initial success? Because most of the people, when they start a law firm, they struggle quite a bit when they start. So
as I said, the struggle was there. I think sometimes it is luck, and sometimes it's the fact that I was already networked into the industry. I had a decent knowledge of sports law. I had written one edition of the book. I had already worked on the policy matters with the government of India. I had actually drafted. I was in the committee already in 2013. I had also handled some commercial disputes of a very high value with Mr. Lakshmi Kumar at Lakshmi Kumar and Sridharan already. So I had a fairly, I think, in the industry, people knew about me. So when you start on your own and you go to the people and say, listen, I have branched out and I started my own law firm, you do get support from the industry seniors.
Right. So you had created a track record and credibility over the years.
Yes.
So that was the key success. So when you wanted to start a law firm, did you go ahead and find other people like you, or were you clear that this is it will be
So I started Ludus, and there are hiccups that you feel, and sometimes certain partnerships don't work. So the initial partnership did not work. There were issues pertaining to less said the better, I would say. But
from learning perspective,
it's a good thing. Sometimes you may be friends with somebody, but you can't work with them.
Right.
So there are professional differences. So that's something that I learned in my first year of starting a law firm. You also understand what are the other costs that come to you when you do it. What are the other things or requisites that are needed. So it opens up your mind. A lot of things that you take for granted when you're in a law firm. When you're working in a big law firm, when you start on your own, those are the costs and experience that these are also expenses that you need to take care of.
Yes.
You learn all of that. So that was the year one, and then we stopped.
If you can tell a little more about those learning experiences, or what were the major learning experiences in your first year?
So major learning experiences are basically branding, right? Second is...
So tell us more about branding. I want to do a little bit of deep dive
to
understand.
Creating your own logo, how to market it, right? So what are the forums, because you keep getting so many mails from a lot of platforms, so you make your mistakes, you spend certain money in certain platform, and then you realize that this was not worth it. anyways you're short of money, so you're all rationing your money in any
Right.
case on that point of time.
So would you share some learnings from that?
So again, it's not right for me to put down certain platforms, right? But certain platforms don't give you the return.
So
that
what
you-
were the best working, highest performing platforms?
So I think highest performance is one, attend a number of conferences. I think that is something that I've realized stands you in good stead. Attend a lot of conferences.
Were these sports specific conferences?
Where sports specific conferences, because general conferences, I would say legal conferences, people who are coming are lawyers, right? And they are not going to generally give you work.
Right.
You have to go to the sports sector because you are actually going to push to the sports sector that listen, I am
Yes, yes.
specializing in it. So you have to attend sports sector specific conferences. Second is write a lot, because that gives you a perspective and that puts you on various platforms. So that is important. Third is
So what was your approach to writing? Because I see a lot of lawyers writing very academic articles, journal articles, which doesn't get any attention. So
I try to write a lot based on my experience on particular issues.
okay.
So, suppose I did an anti-doping case and I realized that these are the loopholes that we are facing. Then I wrote about them, that this is what happens, this is how a case is presented, and these are the issues that you will face when presenting a case. Similarly, when I wrote about match fixing, spot fixing, I wrote that this is the law, this is the gap in law in India, and this is the big challenge. We need to have a match fixing or spot fixing law. Then I wrote about broadcasting, I wrote about the mandatory sharing bill, what are the loopholes or what are the lacunas within that, and how that could be addressed by the government of
So
India.
it's a problem solution.
So yeah, so correct. You pick up the problem, you explore all the legal aspects of it, and then you try to propose a solution. And when you're trying to propose, obviously people also read about it and say, oh, maybe this guy is maybe talking sense, and maybe we should approach him.
So you have become a thought leader. Like your approach was to be a thought leader. in
Too
that
young to
space.
be a thought leader, but yes.
But surely, I mean, that's clearly a thought leadership.
Yes.
Anyway, you are a pioneer in this area. So there's no point being too humble on this. You are a pioneer in this area. It's an accepted fact. But so thought leadership articles was something that you focused on.
Absolutely. That is what everybody wants to read. Even other lawyers will also read it and say, yes, this is a good point of view. Whether they agree with it or not, because there are a lot of times when you do a certain, like even the government policy, when you're doing it, you coming with a certain point of view, you also obviously influenced by the government view as well, and then you apply your independent mind. So a lot of people will not agree with it, but at least when your rationale is clear and I think when you're clear that you've not done anything which is wrong,
You get the attention, please. To
yes,
start with.
yes,
So people notice that this is something worth engaging with.
yes, and I think what makes a big difference is dignity and integrity of a person.
Right.
So like a lot of times when even people did not agree with me, they knew that what I'm doing is correct. If I have a point of view which is what I believe in. So fingers were never raised by me that on me that you have taken money or you influenced by somebody else. It was always that this is your point of view. So even if I argued with somebody that this is what I don't agree with you, they never had a malice against me.
Right.
So and this is something that even the industry picks up in a thing that even if I'm not for somebody, if I'm not speaking for somebody in that sense, but they pick up that this guy is talking sense. For a matter, I'm not going to name the people, but we are negotiating a contract, and the negotiation went on for 6 months, a contract, and a lot of bad blood in the sense, when negotiating, the person gets up and goes, even stop saying bye to you. But when the contract negotiation ended, the person came back, excellent negotiation. We want to hire you now as a lawyer.
Right.
So that is what I think are the big thumbs up that we get sometimes.
Awesome. So, what were like major turning points in your first, first year? One thing I would like to ask. So, you have shared that writing, attending sports conferences, industry conferences, and personal relationship, and also people seeing your work.
Yes.
Like people across the table come back and hiring. So, this has worked really well for you. Anything else you'd like to share?
So I think sometimes you need to come in the limelight, and that is very important. So the issues I think that helped put my name forward is I was the secretary to the IPL spot fixing committee appointed by the Supreme Court.
Yes.
So that brought my name forward. The sports bill brought my name forward. The sports fraud bill brought my name forward. So when your name is there, my book with Justin Mudgal, obviously the principal author.
Yes.
That brought our name forward. So when these things come up, then people start taking you seriously. Anyways, I look young, so that's a very big drawback. So if you have some work at your back, helping you, or a big some work profile behind you, then people take you more seriously, I would say.
Okay, that's an interesting point. So once you if you tell us a little from an academic point of view, management point of view, what did you learn from the partnership not working out? If you can share something.
So partnership not working out is one. I think you need to have partners committing certain times. So that is one thing that you learn, because sometimes in a friendly relationship you don't get into those areas. Second is you need to have a document encompassing or establishing your partnership. A lot of times you're saying yes, we will do it, but you don't end up doing it, and it's nothing but just that things are working. So why we will do it important. Third is, I think it's very important to have a office space. And this is something that I learned in my small journey. Sometimes you're working from home, your clients don't take you seriously. You can't charge your clients if you don't have a proper office space. It's just taken that as a small lawyer, a small law, working from home. So that seriousness is not there in the mind of the clients. So I think having an office space, you can have a sharing office space with somebody else.
Yeah, these days you have.
At that point, it not. So I had to take up my own office space. But office space also makes a very big impact on the mind of the client, that these guys are serious. They have an office space. You have to have your support personnel. You have your clerks and other people supporting you. That makes a very big difference in the perception.
Right.
And I think that's also very,
not only
very
perception, it's delivery also. Right? If you don't have a underlying support staff,
yes,
and you are even running, so how are you going to deliver on a big mandate? That's
yes,
also
absolutely. And then also, what is some things that I learned in my initial years is training your juniors. So you have to be patient with your juniors. You have to help them learn. You have to give them the confidence, and you have to make them understand that they are also a part of the journey. And now that's I hope my juniors feel that they're a part of the journey. You have to give them responsibilities and even promote them. So when all those things happen, then they also grow with you. And sometimes it may not be feasible, because initial part of the thing I was not making any money, but I still hired juniors and I helped them grow, or I hope I helped them grow, as I can say. I helped them grow, and that eventually pays off when you actually start getting mandates. Then your juniors have a training, and you can deliver on those mandates. So initially you have to stop thinking about making profits. Maybe treat it like any other business. Invest. You'll eventually make your money.
So you invested in a brand. You invested in building a foundation, I would say,
Yes.
for 10 years in terms of time. And then when you started it, you also hired people ahead of time.
Yes.
And invested in their training, and they're of course retaining them over a period of time. So what other were major investments in terms of building
I
this?
think basic office infrastructure. When you're a young lawyer, and I think any young lawyer will say that you have only limited funds, and you're trying to invest those funds, and you don't know whether they will come back or not.
Yeah.
So that's a very, very big challenge. And I'm thankful to my mom who supported me on this. But one thing she said is that, see, you have to take that plunge. If things don't work out, you can always go back. You have the experience. You can always join a law firm. But you have to take that plunge. So that plunge has to be taken, and there is no certainty there. You take that plunge, and you hope that you can swim and establish yourself.
Right. So when you started fresh with Krida Legal, this time I believe you started alone. You didn't have other partners.
Yes, this time I started alone.
Yeah. So obviously it's a little more challenging when you're the solo founder and you have a team, of course. But I mean, it's a little bit of a lonely journey when you're the only founder of an organization. So how did you manage that? Because all the pressure is on you, and there must be a mechanism for you to manage this situation.
It's a very, very, very tough question. I think you trying to build clients, you're also trying to deliver. So it was not an easy time. I can say it was not an easy time. That 1 to 2 years, I think the initial 2 years, extremely stressful. Trying to manage administration to the extent that you're also trying to manage billing, you're trying to make your own bills, you're sending those bills out as well, right? You're even, if sometimes there's
trying to follow up and collect.
Trying to follow up even on the call. You're also trying to draft, you're also trying to do research, you're also trying to attend conferences, you're also trying to write. So there's no other way. It's a tough journey. But as I say, some things get managed, you manage. And, and sometimes other things fall in place. So when Subhash joined, we had worked. Subhash is IP partner. Sorry, give you a background. So it's a very very randomly things happen, right, and things fall into place.
Right.
So as just an anecdote, I did work with one of my old school friends who helped me out with the IP aspect, and some clients' urgent filing had come and he was not available. I said, okay, I need to get this done. Who do I go to? And Subhash and me had worked in Lakshmi Kumar and Sridharan long time back. And I said, and I had his number because I met him in the High Court, and he said, I'm doing some things independently as well. And I just called him and he said, oh, I've just given my notice period to my law firm. He actually joined a big law firm. And I said, why don't you come down, let's have tea and let's discuss. And he came and he said, okay, what do you want? Let's do this. Why don't you work with me as well as a partner? This is our arrangement. And he said, yeah, makes sense. And he just joined.
Right.
So, that journey, Subhash is coming, helped me a lot as a partner who also had his experience. He also got a lot of experience from his erstwhile law firm experiences. So that helped. He built his own team. Then the litigation partner came in. Again, same. He was interested in branching out. I said, why do you want to do independently? Why don't you come and join us? And so on and so forth. The journey starts.
Great. That's a great story. So when you if I ask you what is as you grew the funding, obviously scaling is very difficult. Like when you hire more people, one is that how do you ensure they're productive? Another thing is how do you ensure quality of work remains good over time. So how did you go about that?
So the first thing is I still review each and every draft that goes out.
Okay.
I still review everything that goes out. So because in the end the responsibility is mine.
Yes.
I am delivering to the client. So at least for sports and gaming, now I read everything. For IP, because Subhash was the IP partner, 10 years of experience, you have to trust people. And obviously, through interaction, I knew that he knows his subject. So you have to trust on him. And he's been able to deliver it, so I had no reason to suspect that he will not be able to deliver or he's not delivering. I need to look at it. So he's delivering, and similarly with Ashish coming as a dispute resolution partner. So you have to have trust in people. You have to make sure that when they come in, they are able to deliver. And initially, sports and gaming, I reviewed everything. Now, over a period of time, there are certain things which I believe that my team has full capability
so
on.
You're developing a middle management.
Correct. So now, associates who have become senior associates who've been with me for 4 or 5 years, I'm sure that certain aspects they can deliver. So I let them take the initiative there, and I still remain in forefront for other works. And they're also handling clients and dealing, so they're also aware of what the client wants. So we are all, I hope they develop into partners at some point in time in our journey.
So there's a lot of people who say that I have fascination for sports law, but there's not enough work in sports law. I mean, you talk to anybody, they'll say even if they worked a little in sports, they say sports law is fine, but you can't make a career out of it yet in India. That's what generally we hear. So in that environment, you took a plunge and started something.
Yes.
So what is your assessment of the market right now?
So market is growing, and it's growing exponentially now. But my advice to all sports lawyers or to be sports lawyers would still be that if you're thinking that you will want to pursue your passion but still make money like a corporate law firm, that is not happening. That's not happening. So first, align your thought process. You have to align that if you're pursuing your passion, the money initially will be not that much. You will get paid. It's not that you will not get paid. You will be able to take care of expenses. But if you can't go to a small firm and say, I want a A-grade firm law salary, you will not get that. And neither will the firm be able to afford or give it to you. So that first is you have to align yourself mentally as a perception. Second, I think is even if you don't get a job in sports law or legal aspect, still join a sports organization. If you're a qualified lawyer or if you studied law, people appreciate your analytical mind. So understand what the industry is and start learning on that. A number of lawyers that I know, sports lawyers who actually qualified and they're not doing the sports law legal aspect, they've gone into management. There is this gentleman who was in Lakshmi Kumar and he wanted to do sports law. I said, sorry, I don't have space in my team. He went ahead. He said, no, this is something I want to pursue. He went and did a master's course in sports management from Spain, I think. Then he joined a management company and now he's working with Sports Authority of India, not in legal, just in managerial or policy role. Then there is a gentleman who was a very senior person in a big law firm in India, in a top A law firm, a grade law firm. He left and now he's joined the government, and he's doing policy work with the government with Niti Aayog.
Yeah.
And then there's another gentleman again with a big law firm in India, said he wants to take the plunge in the sports sector and has got into management role with a league. So these are journeys where people actually started with law and then they've taken managerial roles on, and they're very, very happy with it.
Right.
And their legal expertise always helps because they have an analytical mind. They can per se or prima facie advice they can upfront give to the top level, and they've risen to the top level of their own sector. So that obviously helps. So as I said, just because you qualified as a lawyer doesn't mean you have to be a lawyer. You can still branch out and pursue your passions. Your profession, degree or your qualifications will always help you.
By your estimation, how many sports lawyers are there in India who are working full time in sports law?
Not many. Not many. I think you will be able to count them. I think not maybe more than 10 or 20.
Okay.
That is also overestimating.
Overestimating.
Yes.
10 maybe.
Yeah.
Great. I always wanted to ask that question. So, if you can share something about your, where do you think your practice is headed or your firm is headed in terms of what's the next level? Like, of course, there's an organic growth phase and all of that, but
I think we still have a lot to learn, and the firm has a lot to learn. So we are trying to grow on all aspects, on IP aspect, on dispute resolution aspect, as well as sports laws. We're trying to get more leagues. We're helping federations set up more leagues because that's, I think, the flavor at this point of time. So we're helping that. We're also helping federation in governance. We're also trying to pick up some international work with international sports governance, with some kind of an intake because I'm already a part of the World Athletics. So we're trying to venture there as well. And a lot of work also comes through gaming. So even venturing into the gaming aspect, people are coming out with new ideas to helping them with structure, with legal opinions, with their entire gamut, helping them with the problems, consumer disputes. So it's a wild gamut, and also trying to branch out into entertainment on a larger scale. Well, I think that is the next journey in.
Right.
So, yeah, that's, I think.
That's the plan. So if you can share something as to your daily habits or some things that you believe have been cornerstone in your success.
So one is I never stop playing sports. So I still go for Sunday cricket. I still try to get a round of golf. I've left golf for a few years. I'm going to start back in the driving range. So one is still pursue what your original passion was, which is sports. Second is I try to keep an hour or two every day to read, and not the work reading, but general reading about what is somebody writing in a journal, what is happening generally in the sports sector, even general reading. First half an hour in the morning or 1 hour in the morning, I just pick up a book and read.
It's like general reading, politics, economics,
general reading. General. I can just
history.
pick up any book and read. So
it's like a liberal arts. Really.
Yes, so just trying to expand your journey, because so many times when you're reading something clicks. It opens up your mind. When your mind is diverted, it also opens up your mind. So trying to do all of that. So that is something. Then hard work, there is no substitute for it. So still put in 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours every day, if not more. So that's the minimum that's still put in. There's no substitute for that. And also, since I got married, trying to devote some time to family life as well. So it's a balance, but you have to make it happen.
Sure. And what would you say about your, how you manage stress or like any meditation and that yoga, that kind of thing?
For me, my stress is managed by exercise and sports. Try to do yoga at some point of time, but I think sports relieves my stress. That's something that I love doing. You meet friends, you meet people. I think it's the stress buster. I think sports is my stress buster for me.
So it's one thing to be a lawyer, another thing to learn to manage people. So how did that happen?
It's a journey. I think you learn over a period of time. If you shout at somebody too much and then they leave, then you realize the essence of that person. You say, okay, next time I will not do it. You sometimes learn that, So, as a when you are a lawyer, you are sometimes overtly aggressive. Sometimes you learn to calm down and try to listen to your other people's point of view, because you may have a point of view, but the other person may have researched, and to try to take it more like a discussion. So you will listen to your juniors, take it a discussion. They will have a point of view, and you can actually expand and take that view forward. So listen more. I think that's something that I've learned more in my managerial role. Listen more rather than saying more.
Hmm. And also, like, there are tough decisions to make. Like, how do you plan your resources? How do you plan your budget? Like, if you could share some practical insights.
So, on a regular level, I think you have to, every 3 months you have to keep looking into account what is your workflow like, what is your future workflow like, what is something that you are likely to get, how trained is your team, what are their salary expectations, what is your budget going to be in the next 3 months, whether you should hire or not. So you have to keep, every 3 months you have to keep taking a rain check on those things. And sometimes you have to take the tough decision also of letting go of somebody. If somebody is not being able to perform, you try to pull up that person and say, listen, this is where you are lacking. I wish I'm giving you 3 months more, pick up your work. And if you want to change your team, then I can help you with change of team. But if after that also, if you can't, then sometimes you just have to let go. So those are tough things which you never learn, and you feel very, very bad. Sometimes people feel that you don't feel bad when you let go, but that person has been a part of your life for that period of time that he's been with the firm, and when you let go of that person, you also feel bad. It's not just that you say thank you. You feel very, very bad. But then sometimes you have to take those decisions in life and move ahead.
So if this is your story till now, till 2019, what are the 2 turning points or 3 turning points
in the 2019 journey? First is learning from the initial mistake and starting Krida Legal. I think that was a big thing, and taking my own office up. Very, very big journey. Second,
so tell me a little more about why it is a turning point.
It's a turning point because that's the time I realized that initially when you start or you take the plunge of going independent, you try to work from your home and your home office, and I started getting very comfortable with that. That listen, 1-2 people, I think we have limited clients, and this is the journey forward, and you mentally get comfortable. So taking that plunge that no, this is not how it's going to work. I will have to take that plunge, cut down any revenue that I'm generating, invest everything back. And at that point of time, it was a very, very serious step. Fortunately, it paid off, but
So a lot of lawyers remain that 1, 2, 3 people team.
Correct.
From there, you decided to become a full-fledged law firm.
The plunge was a very, very big turning point. But
So what made you take the decision that I am not going to be just a solo practitioner, or a small team, but
the learnings from getting betrayed as a small law firm with one partner.
Right.
That is a thing that you learn that no, this will not work. I need to think bigger. And
But how is that? Because if you get betrayed, you think that okay, let's not take risk, let's stay small, right?
I don't know. I took the decision that maybe this is not the way forward. Maybe you have to grow. In the end, the competition is going to come from bigger law firms at some point of time. And if you don't grow, then you will never be able to cater to the clients. So yes, you may have a niche practice, but if you don't have enough people around you supporting you, and I'm very, very fortunate that I have excellent juniors and excellent partners who support me through and through, right? So because there are some times you will get stuck. So they're ready to put in the time and effort. There are so many times I get drafts at 4 or 5 in the morning, and when I say, listen, guys, I need to give this tomorrow morning, so I would appreciate it. I really it's an appreciation for my juniors. They actually sit down till 3 or 4 in the night, send the draft, send me a message, sir, we have sent it to you. So I can take that first 2 or 3 hours in the morning to actually read it, vet it. So by the time they come in, we can have a discussion before we can send it out to the clients or deliver on time. So that's something that I learned. Second is delivering on time. A lot of times you get too stressed and you say, I will give this maybe 3 days later. I realized that, delivering work on time is extremely important and clients appreciate it. Third is being available to your clients. A lot of times, lawyers switch off their phones or say, I'm not available. So on a weekend, I do ask them, is it urgent or not? I do ask the clients if it's urgent or not. But I always pick up the phone and say, how can I help you? And that is something that I also try to inculcate within my juniors, that you should always be welcoming to your clients and be available to them in case they're stressed out. You know, it's you would get stressed out if you or something is wrong and happening in your life, and you would want to talk to somebody. So if a client is going through a legal issue, he wants to talk to somebody. So a lawyer should be available to him for a counsel.
Understood. That's a great point. If you can share, what this is the first turning point.
Yes.
Second turning point.
The other turning points is, I think, probably the IPL fraud, IPL committee that was formed by the Supreme Court under Justice Mudgal, getting appointed on that. That actually gave me a huge learning experience, as well as put forward my name a lot in the sports sector that, is serious. And the third is meeting Justice Mudgal. I think, I don't know, I think I'll not even say Justice Mudgal. I think all my seniors, meeting Mr. Dave, I think there are all three turning points. Mr. Dave, when I met him in 2008-9, extremely helpful. He said, yes, I know you want to pursue sports law, but you need to understand law as well. And therefore, he took me to the journey, took me in under his tutelage and taught me a lot. To the extent that, as a law student, you don't learn that much, but he taught you how serious you have to be about the legal profession, how much hard work that you have to put in, and how much research and attention to details that you have to put in. Then meeting Justice Mudgal in 2010, got my first break on working with sports law. In 2008, sorry. Or 2008 or 9, sorry, I'm just bad with my time, but 2009 probably. January. So the thing, and working with an excellent person, one of the best human beings I've met within the sports sector, outside, a very excellent human being. So learning from him, learning from his experience and writing with him, the first edition. Then meeting Stuart Corbishley, who grilled me on sports law and each and every aspect. Sometimes at that point of time it's very irritating, but he used to correct each and every comma and full stop as well. But that's at that point of time it gets irritating. But when you go back and you say, he taught me so much. Then meeting a visionary like Mr. Lakshmi Kumaran, and he gave me a huge confidence to actually head a department and start sports and gaming law on my own under his ambit. And he would actually take time out to sit with me once in a week or once in 2 weeks. Extremely busy person, but giving that half an hour and understanding what it is happening and guide you that, no, listen, focus on this and go after these kind of clients, focus on this and meet these people. So, huge learning experience. And I don't think there's substitute for it. And I can only say that I've had excellent teachers or gurus, and I'm going to be ever grateful to all of them. So I would say not one, there are 4 or 5 turning points that I've had.
One thing is like find great mentors. That's something I can take away.
Yeah, and when you find, be loyal to them. Because when I started my journey, you found that people are not loyal, trying to, bite you at the back. That's never. Be loyal to your seniors. Be good, bad, even if you want to move out, go meet them, because a lot of times this is a mistake that a lot of young lawyers make. Go tell them, this is my thing, so this is my vision, I don't think I'm able to achieve this here, or sir, I think this is the next vision for me and I want to take this step. And go out with their blessing rather than ever fighting or with a bad blood. It always helps to take a blessing of a senior person in the profession. Besides good karma, it is generally good. If they've been your gurus and they taught you, always take their blessing.
So, from on that note, when you hire people, what are your hiring practices? Because a lot of time your practices, success or failure depends on your ability to hire the right people. So, what's your practice or mantra for hiring them?
So, one, now you should be interested in sports. You should have done something about sports law or gaming law. Right? So, you should have written something, or you should have worked with somebody, and you should know about it. We look at is your analytical mind. So like we will put tough questions to you, and I'm not looking at the legal answer to that so many times. I'm looking at your application of common sense to general principles of law, which you read in law college, and try to answer it. So number of people actually I had was somebody who said, sir, I don't know anything about this, but because this is the case, and this is what I read in contract law, and this is what I read about it in a particular judgment that I read, this should be the case, and this is what and then you put a tougher question, and they say, no, this should be the case. Second is belief in your answer. So if you are saying something, believe in it and stand by it. So we also try to take you, but I think you are wrong. You have to stand by your belief and say, this is what I believe is right. For a simple fact, if you don't have belief in yourself, then it's very difficult to become a good lawyer. Third is obviously the thing that we look at people committing. So because we are a small law firm, we want you to commit and grow with us. So we do look at that fact as well. How willing are you to commit and grow with us?
But this is a problem across all law firms. I'll say that there's huge attrition issues, and I'll be surprised that if you don't have that. So what's the secret of that?
Involve your team in every decision. I never try to hide anything from my team. My team knows everything from what I'm talking to my clients to everything, unless the clients ask for some confidentiality. Then obviously they're not involved. But otherwise, my team knows about everything pertaining to a particular issue. We discuss. There is no right or wrong answer. You come out with a point. We will all of us sit down, discuss, brainstorm, and then try to develop that
I
idea.
get that, but still, let's say a bigger law firm offers more money or somebody. I mean,
You can never stop that.
You can never stop that. So how you are saying that you still don't have high turnover. So what's the thing about
As I said, that if you keep your team involved, keep your team motivated, promote them. They should also feel that they are being promoted. A lot of times where I see happens in bigger law firms or even smaller law firms is a partner who only goes and tries to do the conferences and tries to meet people or tries to be a part of the client discussion.
it? Others have no exposure.
And others have no exposure. I don't think that's the right journey. Whether a person stays with me or not, I should have, like I've had excellent mentors, I want that even if my junior leaves, he should be able to say that, listen, he was a great mentor, he taught me, he took me to discussions and he taught me all these things. If that is the case, everything is not about growing of the law firm or getting more money. Some things are what I have got from my seniors in the profession, I also need to give back. So I take that as
So
well.
people get compensated in the way that they're learning more or they're getting more exposure
Yes.
and they stay for that. In the same vein, I want to ask, there are bigger law firms who are trying to get into this space and some have gotten into the space. So from your perspective, what is your competitive advantage or what's your strategy?
So we understand the sector. I have been involved in policy making. I have been involved in administration with the Commonwealth Games. I have been involved from the grassroots level, and I've been involved with various issues that have come up in this journey over the last 11 or 12 years. So understanding those issues, it's very difficult for a law firm which is now trying to get into it to understand those experiences. So that is something that is very difficult. Second, the sports sector is still not that high paying. So it is sometimes prohibitive for sports management companies to hire a big law firm because they cannot afford them. So that is why also helps in the fact that this remains a niche practice.
Yeah.
And third, I think, is your relationship with the people in the sports administration sector, because that always helps in your keeping people loyal to you and keep coming back to you. They should feel comfortable with you.
Right. What do you think about sports education, sports law education in India or globally? What's the opportunity for people who want it?
So now there are a lot of courses have come up. There is, I believe, an NE course on sports law. I think Gujarat National Law University also offers a course on sports law. There is this GISB, Global Institute of Sports Business, which also does a management and sports law course. Then there are international courses that are offered by the Melbourne Law University, by my alma mater, by De Montfort University in sports law, by ISDE in Spain. So there are a number of courses that have come up. So it's good that students can actually take it up because they will meet the right people, they will learn a lot before they actually enter into the sector. So those avenues are available now.
But would you say it is necessary to do a course before exploring the sector?
So my journey has not been a straight journey in sports law, so I don't think it is a necessity. Maybe a lot of things you can learn through experience as well. So I don't think anything is a necessity in that sense. You should have a law degree, yes, and you should be clear with the principles of law. But a lot of things you can learn while working.
Supplementary.
Yeah. But it always helps to do one of these courses because it does open your mind. So because if you're working in India or you're working with a company, your mindset will be restricted to that particular problem that company is having. So when you do these courses and you hear the international experts or domestic experts, then the mental space also broadens and you start understanding and start thinking in a larger horizon. So I think it always helps. It's not a necessity, but it definitely helps if you do in some of these courses.
Got it. Okay. So I think more or less we have approached the end of our conversation. If you have anything at all to share further.
No, I think the only thing that I have to share with students or young lawyers is keep your dignity, have your integrity, and persevere if you want to do sports law. That's something which is essential. Second, always respect your gurus and your mentors. Never, be let backbite or, as we say, be negative towards them.
Right.
So that's something that I definitely say. See, third is manage your expectations, because a lot of time big law firms pay big money, so you have to manage your expectations depending on what you want to pursue. And fourth is don't get ever disheartened if the first go or second go you don't get your dream job or you don't get a job in your sector. Keep pursuing, and eventually you will find success.
Got it. How can people approach you if they want?
My contact details are available on the firm website, as well as you can always call in and or drop in an email, and that will find its way to me. And I'm always available to young law students and young lawyers. Anytime you want, you can come and have a chat with me. Happy to give you time.
Thank you, sir.